Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about spaying and neutering your animal for my persuasive speech video. I would like to talk about three main points today. The three main points are overpopulation, diseases, and the cost effectiveness of getting your animal spayed and neutered. First, I would like to put a situation out there. Imagine if there were endless amounts of dogs and cats that were roaming around. We wouldn't have enough medical supplies, food, or shelter for these animals. It would put everyone in a bad situation. Most people would want to take these animals in and care for them, but might not necessarily have the means to do so. Things like this happen every single day down south. There are endless amounts of animals that roam the street that continue to mate, creating more issues. This is a direct cause of having animals that were not spayed or neutered properly. An issue that a lot of people don't think about every day is that these animals that don't get spayed and neutered end up creating puppies, kittens, large litters, and then there's nowhere for them to go. Take, for instance, the Northeast Animal Shelter in Salem. At least once a month, they get a load full of puppies and kittens. These puppies and kittens are coming from down south, where there are puppy mills or overpopulation of these animals. It seems like a great thing because a family gets to adopt a new puppy, and they get to be able to have all of the shots and vaccines and the spaying and neutering that costs money come with that animal. But that animal is here from a direct cause of not having their parents spayed or neutered. I would like to now talk about my first point, which is overpopulation. Now, I just talked about how overpopulation is what comes from an animal not being spayed or neutered. Overpopulation of animals is a real thing. It goes on every single day, and although it could benefit some people, it is horrible for these animals. A lot of animals that cause the overpopulation have more than 3-4 litters, which is very dangerous for animals. Most female animals are really only capable of carrying 1 to 2 litters safely. After that, it can become a serious health risk to both themselves and their puppies, or kittens, depending on the animal. These things could be avoided by getting the animal spayed or neutered. Now, some questions that might arise are, why not get the animal spayed or neutered after they've already delivered a litter of their puppies or kittens? Which is a great question. The problem with getting your animal spayed or neutered after they've already delivered 2 to 3 litters is most of the time, these puppies that are being born from a parent that hasn't been spayed or neutered aren't in a controlled environment. And if they are, those are considered puppy mills, where an owner of a puppy mill is continuously breeding their animals to get a profit from the puppies. Most of these animals that I'm speaking of that are having endless amounts of offspring are animals that live on the street, are in settings where their owners might not necessarily even know that their animal is pregnant, and they just continue to have these puppies over and over again. And when I mean they don't know that they're having puppies, I don't mean that for the time that their animal is pregnant they have no idea, but it's that their animal may go out in the yard, get out, come back, and in that short time span they've mated with a male and they've become pregnant. And then it's kind of out of the owner's hand at that point. It's a very real thing, and I think that alone could convince someone to want to get their animal spayed or neutered, because puppies and kittens are a great thing, but it's not worth putting your animal at risk just to get them. There are safer ways of doing so, and that's definitely something that everyone can look into. My second point that I would like to talk about are diseases. A large population of animals that are not spayed or neutered are put at risk for cancer. And there are different forms of cancer that affect these animals depending on the animal and the sex of the animal. But take, for instance, breast cancer. Breast cancer directly can affect female dogs that have not been spayed. So it's not to say that every animal that's not spayed that's a female is going to get breast cancer, but they're put at a much greater risk when they're not spayed for breast cancer. Another very common one that can happen both in cats and dogs in females is uterine cancer. So most animals that are not spayed go into heat, which for cats and dogs, it's a monthly menstrual cycle that lasts for about 30 days. They come every 3 months, and they're very messy for both the owner and the dog. During those 3 months, their very susceptible for becoming pregnant because their natural instincts take over and they're more apt to become aggressive to get to a male so that they can mate. You could avoid all of this by getting them spayed prior to their heat. Some people do like to wait until after their animal has gone through one heat to get their female dog or cat spayed, which is fine as long as it's done in a controlled setting and you've done your research and you're doing this not because you think that it's the cool thing to do or that multiple people have convinced you, but that you've done your own research and that you've talked to your vet and you've decided that it would be best for both you and your dog or cat. But it's definitely a real thing, and cancer also can travel over to these dogs. To males. So males are very susceptible for testicular and prostate cancer, both in male dogs and male cats. Male cats are much more susceptible to prostate cancer due to not being neutered. And it's a real thing, and it really is a horrible thing for both the owner and the pet, because at that point, for all sexes of all these animals, once these things happen, they require immediate attention. So what could have been at most a $300 surgery to get your animal spayed or neutered has now turned into $1,000 for treatment, medicine, surgeries. In worst cases, you might have to put your animal down. So these are all things that could then be avoided if you just spay and neuter your animal at an appropriate time so that that animal can live a long and healthy life and not have to worry about these things that they're put at risk for. Now, I'd just like to mention that your animal can still very well get cancer or other diseases when they're spayed or neutered. But when they're not spayed or neutered, they're just put at a greater risk for developing cancer or other diseases. My third topic that I would like to talk about is the cost effectiveness of getting your animal spayed or neutered. I just briefly mentioned this at the end of my last point, but when you get your animal spayed or neutered, there are some programs out there, such as Friends of Animals, that I personally use that offer discounts to have your animal spayed or neutered. This group has been a wonderful, wonderful thing for many pet owners, and their main motto is to stop overpopulation because they see how horrible it can be for dogs and cats and their offspring. And it's a nonprofit organization, and they work mainly to make sure that people can afford to have animals, to love them like everyone wants to when you have an animal, but also be able to get them spayed or neutered so that you stop the ongoing issues that happen in other places around the world where they might not have those resources, like Friends of Animals. Getting back to the cost effectiveness, when you get your animal spayed or neutered, at most, usually it's a $300 charge. That would be without alternate services to help you pay for it. That includes the anesthesia that they'll get during the procedure itself, and then any medication that they'll have to come home with, including a collar to help them not to lick the area that's been treated. So $300 for a one-time purchase to get those things that I've just discussed, to help your animal live a healthier, happier life, to not recreate, to me seems like a much better approach than not doing that and then a few years down the line finding out that your female dog has enlargement of her uterus, uterine cancer, breast cancer, all these horrible things that can then happen due to not getting her spayed. So it definitely seems like in the long run you would save money, whereas in the beginning you might have to fork up a substantial amount of cash, $300, but you're saving yourself from all those possibilities. Same thing with a male dog. You don't get your male dog spayed or neutered, and now that say they do develop prostate cancer or testicular cancer, or maybe in a different situation, they impregnate someone else's dog. That still does fall on you. You're a pet owner. You have responsibilities, and you should be watching your animal. You should be conscious of the decisions that you're making to safeguard your animal or keep them in a yard or on a leash. And it could just open up a door of so many different issues that you could avoid by just doing one simple thing, by getting them spayed and neutered. So to wrap up, I'd just like to say that, sometimes people believe that not doing things right away and waiting might be the best situation, but you really put yourself at risk. And like anything in life, if you have the opportunity to do it the right way, why not do it? Then put yourself at risk for maybe getting away with it in the beginning for a little while, but causing a boatload of issues in the end. It's definitely something that I think everyone should consider. And, you know, like with anything, do your research and make your own decisions, but make your own decisions based off what's best for your animal, for your lifestyle, and don't just do it because it's less expensive right away or, you know, it's inconvenient. Because realistically, owning an animal is a very big responsibility. And if you're going to do that, then you need to educate yourself prior to getting that animal on all the things that come along with owning a cat or a dog, or for that matter, any other animal, because it's a life and it's definitely not just, you know, a toy that you get to have for a couple years and that's it. It's something that you need to take, you know, full responsibility for and make sure that before you even get an animal, you know that you can take over any expenses and any issues that come your way. So thank you, everyone, and it's been awesome being in this class. I'm so sad that it's over. I love speech. I love doing these videos, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their college career, and I was so happy to meet everyone. Thanks, guys.